They finally gave me one at the end of this career. I got my gavel. Okay, it's about 5:36. Let's call the meeting to order.
That's why you didn't get one early.
I know.
5:31.
5:31, what did I say, 34? Boy, I'm losing.
36. Oh, my God.
Take the gavel.
We can go digital.
Okay.
Now you know why we didn't give it
Who's
to
taking minutes? Be careful.
They record them and Sandy does them from the thing. So I do have some adjustments to the agenda. First of all, there are no presentations, so that graduation standard, just take that right off. So that's 4.1. 6.2, communications, board corner topics. Somehow this gets added to our agenda for the last few times, and there's no such thing, so take that one right off your list. Who is doing the 6.1? CVU House District Discrete Items for CVSD Consideration? What is that?
So that's sort of a board discussion topic. Things you'd like us to know discreetly about the high school for the larger board, and that's for, we'll make a list and we'll pass it on.
Okay.
We're doing that in
Yeah.
Okay. And then I do have one more addition to the consent agenda. I was told that Bob Mason forwarded each of you this, they had a bid opening, was it this today? It was yesterday, I believe. And it was for the Field Irrigation Award. Did you get that in your stuff?
Separate.
It was separate, under a separate cover. The bid was awarded to Rick Sports Fields. This money was earmarked, I believe, 2 years ago, and it was supposed to be, this irrigation test on Field C was supposed to happen last year, and it never did, because they didn't get their acts, they couldn't get the bids out quickly.
I appreciate the rephrasing on that.
Yes, so, they finally got the bids out, I think last fall, and they opened the bids. The one thing I do want to say is that the Facilities Committee, and many years ago, I want to say at least 2 or 3, had budgeted $75,000 for this project. It came in at 89, 522. I do want to point out that there was about 120,000 budgeted for the fields. So the shortfall that we have for the 75 it will be taken from the remainder of the field money that we have set aside. This money was set aside a long time ago.
So this is going under action, we're taking action on this? Or this is
Consent.
already approved? Is it just an FYI, or is this an action item?
It's an action, well, if you want to make it an action item and talk about it, but this money has already been earmarked, the bids have been accepted, contract has been awarded, so I was just putting it under the consent agenda.
Oh,
Unless you really want to talk about
Well,
it.
you can't put it for action tonight.
Right.
So, no, keep it at consent,
Okay.
So that would be 8.5?
Yes, 8.5, it's the Field Irrigation Award.
And there was the update to the library one, did he?
Yes, I forgot to mention, is in 8.4, there was the library upgrade. You should have gotten a revision on that. It's not 14,000, they're spending 25,000.
25, yeah.
I did have that somewhere. I guess I had it in.
Yeah, that was a separate email too.
Just to say a word about this, because it's exciting about what that's going to look like. So we're separating the back of the library into 4 distinct zones, modeled after a study that was done at UNC based on Australia's educational system. So in the 4 separate rooms, you've got, they're labeled these terms: watering hole, campfire, cave, and classroom. And so each one serves a different purpose for students. So the watering hole is brightly lit, high tables, comfy chairs with screens. It's more of like partly like a media and interaction room. And then you've got a campfire, so it's like a breakout space for student groups and collaborative work with whiteboards, tables, and smartboards. And then the other one, the cave, is quiet study. It's a really neat model, which is going to help the library transition into a real multi-use space. So.
you have those chairs that kids can take naps in?
No, I don't think we've set that up yet.
Yeah.
The
Let me see. I don't know that we got to that detail, but,
Because the Shelburne project, in their common space, they have tables that are whiteboard tables. And I've been there and watched the kids when they're there collaborating on a math problem. It's really engaging, right? Because they can draw a line and say, no, this is here, and it's really
cool.
impressive to watch. And you can see they're just like, they're totally oblivious to the fact that somebody's there even watching them.
so even more exciting, the fourth room is soundproofed, and we'll be running a radio station out of there.
Oh,
So is that where the meeting space is right now?
That's basically if you're staying in the front of the library and look all the way at the back, it's,
Straight out to the
yeah, there's some carousels back there, so it's just reconfiguring that room. And then the other change that doesn't cost any money that fits in with this is, if you know where our media AV room is, to the left of that is a computer lab. Now that will be fully one-to-one next year, that computer lab, we don't need as much anymore, so it's gonna be moving to like a green room and becoming part of the kind of media integration that we're doing as a school, so. Be exciting.
thank you. Okay, so I've gone through the adjustments of the agenda, and we're on to 3.0, audience communication. Does the audience have anything to say? Oh my, welcome, Jean.
I just came to the last official meeting, how could I miss it?
Okay, we have no presentation, so that we're going on to 5.1, which is the principal's report.
I'm only gonna highlight one thing, and that is the Engage Day that we're embarking upon on Thursday. So you'll remember the personalized learning process presentations that we've done several times throughout the year. The Engage Day is a culmination of the roundtables that we did earlier in the year, where students were challenged with the question, it's not just about what you want to do, but it's about how you want to engage with the world and trying to track down interests and values. So just a short list of what our sophomores are going to have access to. The first one is basic video production. So these are our two sessions that will run throughout the day, and they'll be actually capturing and filming the learning throughout the day and producing a video to show the entire class at the end. Exploring teaching at UVM, exploring medical professions at UVM, DJing with Craig Mitchell, massage therapy, stand-up comedy with Josie Levitt, introduction to coding, ceramics glazing, empty bowls for a cause, write like your hair is on fire with Mary Beth McNulty. There's a writing poetry session with me, which no one's going to sign up for. We've got writing music with software, examining trees in our forest, hands-on tour of UVM's clinical simulation laboratory. So this is the lab that brings together individuals and groups and teams for hands-on learning experiences that reflect actual trauma and operating rooms. Baking fresh fruit tarts, human movement and performance, medicine and international service work, life and times of a game warden, trail building for CVU disc golf course, basic welding, woodworking, traditional oral storytelling, theatrical improv. I mean, the list goes on. And so our sophomores have a wealth of opportunities, not to mention some are out doing internships at State House, things like that, so.
See, Brittany came and talked about it, and because of that, my husband and I are both doing 2 workshops for that.
Yay, thank you. We could use all the help we can get, so.
See how it goes.
So Thursday will be a very, very busy day at CVU. Between that, kneecap testing, Model UN, and seniors are out for Senior Service Day. So there will not be a bus to be found anywhere.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the buses are gonna be everywhere.
I'm supposed to be giving a parent tour on that day to prospective parents. I'm like, this may not be the best timing for that.
I have a question that we didn't, this is something I didn't do this year. Did we have foreign students this year?
We did, and they contacted me and offered to present tonight, but I thought with the half an hour.
Okay.
I have one quick question, and I don't know if it's, if there was any action taken on it, or if it's something to follow up with next year with the other board, but I think it was a year ago, a bunch of us sat with you and some other teachers about the accreditation process and whether we were gonna go through it, or were we gonna do something different. and we decided to do something different.
Yep.
Do we know, have we started that process, or is that?
Yeah,
Where
that's-
is that?
So we are no longer accredited through NEASC. I met with basically the executive chair of our region to talk about it this summer, because he wanted to follow up. The takeaway from the discussion was, he was basically imploring me, saying, listen, we're really changing our process, we're changing our standards. And I said, great, when that's done, you've been saying that for a couple of years. We certainly are always open to those discussions, and if we find that, we have some issues around not being accredited, then we will, we may talk to you before then. So it was a good meeting, but it's not an uncommon experience for them.
But the state piece hasn't happened yet? Weren't we going to then have the state involved or partner with the state?
Right. We have not had, there are 3-year rotations for that, so we've not had our EQ, our educational quality visit yet. But that will be upcoming. And that's once every 3 years as opposed to NEASC, which is once every 10. So,
And without as much expense as the NEASC accreditation
Right.
process. Is
yeah,
that right?
the NEASC was about 60 to 100,000, and then 10,000 every year after, so.
I was very concerned and reluctant to go that way because I'd been involved and I saw how thorough it was. But looking at the current NEASC and the process of what we'd have to go through, the expense, I learned, got as much, if not more, out of the state rotation and more pertinent to who we are with our requirements of the state. I mean, it sounded very risky to drop NEASC to me when we initially looked at it, but we called colleges and universities, we verified from lots of people who would utilize the NEASC accreditation in looking at us, so
I haven't seen any ill effect yet, but it may be something that we want to turn to in the future to say, okay, now it is time for us to have a comprehensive assessment. It's just, this was certainly not the right time, so,
the last one helped us with our bond.
yeah.
Some of the recommendations were our facilities, and so I think when we went to the community, that was helpful.
Does anyone have any other questions for Adam? Besides the condom distribution thing that's going on?
Someone said, you really put that in the board report? Like, I didn't know that. Open-minded people here?
Yeah.
Is that for real?
What's that?
Is that for real?
There's a recommendation from the state that all high schools consider some type of condom distribution plan, given the numbers around sexually transmitted infections, STIs, which are extremely high.
And what is your stand on it? I'm Rowan Beck, I'm with the Charlotte News.
Yeah, I don't know, is this an appropriate time to be engaging with the audience, or maybe talk about it after, or?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay,
Talk to you
great.
after.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? How about a CVSD debrief? What I got from it was you're moving more towards more policies on your board?
I think working through some of the tasks at hand, feeling our way with a structure, but feeling our way with how we'll function with the consolidation and how we talk about all our students, all our buildings, all our responsibilities. I mean, if there's attention needed, Williston needed to sign, bid agreements, then that is specific, but it's not just this building or that community, it's all of ours. And so language is being used more comfortably, I think, and figuring it out, but not helter-skelter with a structure.
Any input or questions for the CVSD board people? The CSSU debrief. There wasn't much going on there either.
Done in 15 minutes.
Update a little bit on negotiations that they met last Tuesday. They're moving in some direction, but, I mean, this is.
Is the CSSU people doing that, or is the CVSD people doing teacher contract negotiations?
What
CVSD.
did
CVSD.
David just say?
CVSD.
Right,
is
but he
the-
reported on, maybe that was part of
Yeah.
his CVSD.
There's been negotiations ongoing for a few months. There was a meeting last Tuesday that focused around healthcare, surprise. Some tentative agreement on that may have been reached, but it still needs to be paired with a salary agreement, so that's still sort of up in the air. Plus, that entire thing's up in the air for the next few days. So, yeah, there's some progress being made, but outside forces and inside forces are having their say at the moment, so. It continues.
Can we go on to the third quarter FMR? I was not at that meeting, the last one, if someone would like to speak at it.
What you see at the end here.
That's not
Pretty
it.
much wraps the whole thing up.
I don't know. Okay, so-
April meeting. And the construction fund,
I guess we're gonna have a favorable, 165,000,
yes, is
61
that
to
what
the
it is?
budget.
And that's where the library money is coming from. This is what, $182,592.09
Okay.
to the good.
I have just one procedural question, is usually we don't do the fourth quarter FMR until September. Do we, as the facilities committee, have to get together for that and do that? I guess that's a question for Bob.
It is, but, so it's a good question, and the answer is maybe.
Excellent.
Definite maybe.
And the
Great.
audit,
The audit, we have to get
report
together.
is usually November or something?
Yeah, so the audit is something
So
that,
that would be a lot longer than.
yes, the audit is something that you would still have the power to approve and be expected to approve when it comes.
My only thing about the audit report, because it's just a very brief meeting, can that one be done by phone? And that's something that, to think about.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. Okay, how about we move on to the student council report?
I just wanted to apologize for being late. I was managing a lacrosse game and a little later than expected, but the boys won 9-6 today, so that's good. They played MMU, and yeah, it's a pretty good team. But so that was exciting. But things that have been going on around the school, we recently had AP exams. Those just wrapped up last Friday. And there was a lot going on this year with the new APs, and I know that AP Economics required not one but two different AP tests for the macro and micro, so quite a few students were taking upwards of 2 or 3 exams this year. So that was a lot to deal with for some students, and right in between the first and second week of AP exams, we had Prom, which was a really big success this year in my opinion. It was held at the Old Lantern, and everyone was really excited about it, and I thought it was quite a good success. And we recently had the new president, vice president of the student body elections, and so Rourke and Lydia Kutras won those, and so they will be the student body president and vice president next year. And coming up, we have Senior Service Day, and there are several different options. Students go and do service around different locations in the state. A lot of them are based towards like cleanup outdoors, because those are the only kind of opportunities that can take large groups of students. And right now, I believe there's a surge in popularity of Mount Philo, because a lot of students are planning to go to Vermont Cookie Love after. But I think there are a lot of people signed up, so that's promising. And then next Friday, on May 26th, we have grad challenge presentations. So I'm not 100% sure if many students are aware of that. Advisors have had to say, hey, like, get your presentation going. But I think people will get on track soon enough. So we'll see how those go.
In addition to the president and vice president elections, we've also had senior rep elections for next year. And Renee Dowerman and Andrew Silverman were selected as next year's senior reps. Also, there will be class rep elections for sophomores and juniors coming up for next year, and those will be in the next few weeks. Last week, we had all states for band and choir, and many CVU students went. It was in Brattleboro. There was the band, full orchestra, and choir. And speaking of Brattleboro, there was also the unified game last week with the CVU unified basketball team against the Brattleboro team. The Brattleboro team won. And at all states, heard about it because they announced it over the intercom. So it was a close game, though, and there's a good, nice send-off for the CVU team. So everyone was, in general, really happy about it. And also the applications for CVU's Academic Leadership Council, which started this past winter. It's the replacement for the CVU branch of the National Honor Society. Applications have opened for rising seniors. And they close at the end of the week, but they also reopen at the beginning of next year.
Can I add something?
Mm-hmm.
That at track and field, CVU was third, and Tyler Marshall broke the
Oh, yeah.
Vermont record for the 15,000.
3 minutes and 56 seconds for the 1500.
Yeah, well,
Announced on VPR. Nice to hear that.
really.
At all states, my host family was the dad was the coach of the Brattleboro track team. And a Brattleboro runner had set the previous state record. So he was saying the night before, he's like, oh, I hope Tyler doesn't break record. But
And what we all want to know is where's Laura going?
Oh, well, I'm actually committed to 2 schools currently.
Oh,
Committed to the UVM Honors College and also Washington University in St. Louis. So just waiting to hear back about a scholarship to determine where I go for sure.
And Thomas, are you still staying on being a rep to the CVSD board?
yes, and I've worked that out with the board already, and I presented documentation of our rep selection process to them.
So
They've
your
approved.
junior counterpart hasn't been,
And we are still planning on selecting a new rising junior rep to the CVSD board this spring. So,
Nice, great. I was worried about that.
thank you.
Have you been following Songs for a New World at all?
I've not.
I might just throw in a quick plug for two of our students. We have 2 students who produced out of the Nexus program, Songs for a New World. I think I sent an email out to the board inviting you. It looks like it'll be an amazing production on May 26th, 27th, 28th of a combination of hearing and deaf performers, and they have produced, directed the whole thing, raised a lot of money, sponsored by dealer.com, and should be a really special event. So if you have any interest in going, let me know. And
If we're not able to attend, is there a way we can, will it be videotaped and put on YouTube?
I would imagine so.
Could you
They've-
send us a link to that?
I will, yeah. They've gotten an impressive cast. And I don't know if Flynn Space allows that, so we'll need to check that out, but.
okay, if there are no other comments to the student council report, let's move on to 6.0, the discussion matters. And I believe this is a time where we can give our opinions or input to Mark for what he can pass on to the board next year, or I should say, starting July 1st.
And I should say, obviously, emails at any time are welcome. This is just a discussion matter that they put in, so if there was something people could bounce around now, that would be.
Now, if I remember correctly, Polly and I went to the board and we had a list.
I thought we had
Yep.
done that. Yep, you did that.
And I, of course, could not find it on my computer. But I decided that you must have it memorized.
I do.
I expected that.
And I also know that it's part of, it's part of, so, yes, we have that, yes.
Okay.
There are 2 things that we left off of that as I was thinking. One is, we always have a report from the foreign students, the foreign exchange students,
Right.
and it's always fun to listen to what they have to say after spending, a year at CVU. And the other thing that this board does that we didn't discuss with the CVSD board was the approval of abroad trips. We did not
Right.
discuss that one. And I don't know how that process is going to work with the larger board. And just to let people know, Dave Connery, who's now the chair of the CVSD board, I handed him the instructions on how to hold a disciplinary hearing, and he was most grateful.
With the handbook of rules?
Yeah.
Well, the policies change, doesn't that handbook change every year, or
There are updates, yeah.
Yeah. They always give you a book when you
I know.
get in there anyway.
I feel like you know what you're doing.
Does anyone have anything else to add? Yes, go ahead.
Well,
No, I was
She was
pointing to you.
Oh.
Polly wasn't looking.
June 13th is a Tuesday at 1:30 was picked for the longevity awards, the ice cream social, and honoring any person who is employed here for 10 years of service, 15 on up. And the board gives gifts that I've done for many years. And then when people are retiring or whatever, administration gives those. But it is a fun day. I'm gonna have to leave that day at 2. So if people can come, it's in the middle of a work day, I understand. But if people can, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'll be there.
Okay.
And
What time,
Two-
Joe?
1:30 on Tuesday, June 13th. The
Just
cafeteria.
And Mark, this is something that only happens at the high school, and it doesn't happen at the K-8s. So I don't know if this
I spoke with
tradition.
Elaine.
Okay, yeah, wrote it down. Some of the K-8s do some, especially for retirements, obviously.
Okay.
Charlotte, we definitely do retirements. But, yeah, that's,
Shelburne Community School does a similar thing with last year's school.
When I spoke with Elaine about it, I felt strongly that we are still CVU until July 1. And so she said, yes, carry on with this. And maybe each school who feels that their little traditions don't change the flavor of a consolidated system can continue. So if it's on your list, Mark, then I think that's an important thing. It's not easy getting the dates of hire, because sometimes somebody's here as a sub or a part-time, and then when do they hit 10 years? When do they, those are little details that don't mean anything for this, but in thinking, if we're multiplying it times the entire district, we'll just think about those.
Is there ever a district in-service kind of day, or is everything done at the building level?
We
In
have
the beginning of the year?
both at the beginning of the year and post-service. This year's a little bit different because we switched to the PLC model, well, at the high school, but the early release and the.
Because that could be a time to do it. Like, that's how we do it in Colchester. That's when each
that makes
teacher in the
sense.
district gets longevity
Oh,
awards because
yeah.
they're all together.
Jeff said there's 2 after graduation, 2 in service. Did he say that earlier?
There's 4,
Right,
two
but
at
2
GS, yes, for
total.
CVSD
Huh.
level, I should say.
Does anyone have anything else for Mark? And please, if you think of something, email him.
email me anyway, I'm lonely.
I've been calling you all the time, don't
That's
lie.
right. That's right, Adam keeps me busy.
How about irrigation of Field C? Oh, I'm sorry. Just to
Yeah,
see
what
if you're
about that
alert-
turf field?
alert. Wait, yeah.
I'm having Shep keep track of the number of cancellations we've had this spring. It's been
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah, but I'm sure
It's
Tough
par for the
year.
course.
Yeah.
Not when they drain.
Well, maybe this new solution will be the
Yeah.
one. It's not.
Okay, so we have no action matters, so let's move on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion approved to accept the
moved.
consent agenda.
Second?
Second?
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The consent agenda is approved. Thank you very much. We do not have any more meetings, and I would just like to thank everyone on this board for all your service. It's been wonderful serving with you these past few years.
Thank you,
And
Polly,
I will
for
miss you.
being our fearless leader.
And so, I get to use this again. Okay.
Graduation,
What about graduation?
June 16th.
June 16th,
June
1
16th.
o'clock.
Yep.
What time do we show up? And I know where to go this time.
12 noon.
12 o'clock.
Yeah, they want you, and that's really recommended because you're gonna get stuck in traffic. So, yeah,
Patrick,
and it's the last one, and did I read it right? Is Bernie Sanders gonna be our,
I was hoping that's who you meant. You said we'll be surprised, but you were really into it, I was thinking.
Yeah.
And what did the
So
students?
we're issuing tickets actually for the first time this year, just in, we think there'll be plenty of seating, but just in case, we want this to be about the students. We don't want it to become an event.
How does one get tickets if I
If you're on
wanted
the
to?
board.
if you're
If you're on the board, if you have any questions, Debbie Seaton's, you can just call the main line, we'll take care of it. But-
Exciting. It's good.
okay, so I now declare our last meeting for the CVU School Board adjourned.